Topic is development of the urinary system. Normally, urogenital system consists of urinary system and genital system. And this urinary system contains kidney, urinary bladder, and urethra. So now we are going to see the development of each of these things. Development of the kidney and development of the urinary bladder and urethra. Normally, development of the kidney taking place from the mesoderm, whereas the urinary bladder and urethra develops from the cloaca. So, mesoderm, as we know, this mesoderm contains lateral plate, intermediate and paraxial mesoderm. So, as we know, the lateral plate develops the heart, whereas this mesoderm is intermediate, is mainly concerned with the development of the urinary system. So, in this intermediate, we have two ridges called as genital ridge and nephrogenic ridges. So this genital ridge is mainly concerned about the development of the genital system, whereas now we are going to see about the nephrogenic ridges, which develops the urinary system. So this nephrogenic ridges contains pronephros, mesonephros, metanephros. So pronephros and mesonephros are temporary, whereas metanephros is permanent, which develops the main part of the kidney. So as we know, the structural and functional unit of kidney is the neuron. So this neuron is developed from the metanephros. So this metanephros has metanephric blastoma, which is a cell. It develops the renal vesicle. From the renal vesicle, nephrons are formed, which is the secretory part of the kidney. So again, coming to pronephros, mesonephric duct are formed, from which the uteric bud is formed. It is the main thing. So uteric bud is formed. From the uteric bud, major and minor calyx, urethra and renal pelvis and collecting ducts. All these is together known as collecting part of the kidney. So which is formed from the mesonephric duct. So all together form the kidney. So as we know, kidney is formed from the mesonephric duct and metanephros. So secreting part is formed from the metanephros. Collecting part is formed from the mesonephric duct or ureteric bud. So altogether this forms the kidney. So and then as we know that the kidney is normally formed in the pelvic region, and it ascends up to the abdomen and becomes the abdominal organ. So normally in the pelvic region, hilum will faces laterally, which rotates and ascends up to the abdominal region, and then hilum faces medially. Hilum, normally we know that in the normal kidney, hilum faces medially. So in the embryonic stage, the hilum faces laterally and the 90-degree rotation takes place, and then the hilum becomes medial. Okay, these are the development of the kidney. Whereas coming to the development of the urinary bladder and the urethra, cloaca is involved. So this cloaca is separates by the urorectal septum into, so this cloaca forms the primitive urogenital sinus and primitive rectum. So this primitive rectum divides the mesonephric duct into vesicourethral canal and definitive urogenital sinus. So from the vesicourethral canal, urinary bladder and urethra forms. From the definitive urogenital sinus again divides to form pelvic part and phallic part. This is not very important now. Now we are mainly concerned about the urinary bladder and primitive urethra. So the urinary bladder and urethra forms from the vesicourethral canal. So as I repeat, cloaca. So this cloaca is separated by the urorectal septum to form primitive urogenital sinus and primitive rectum. So there is primitive urogenital sinus divides the mesonephric duct into vesicourethral canal and definitive urogenital sinus. So from the vesicourethral canal, urinary bladder and primitive urethra are formed. So this definitive urogenital sinus is not very important now. We'll see this in the genital formation, genital development. So now the urinary bladder and urethra are formed. To mainly more concerned with the urinary bladder, we will see the urinary difference development of the urinary bladder parts. So first, transitional epithelium. As we know that urinary bladder is lined by a transitional epithelium, which is formed by the endoderm of the vesicourethral canal. So trigone, except trigone, it is endoderm of vesicourethral canal, whereas trigone is formed by the mesoderm of the vesicourethral canal. Whereas muscles of the urinary bladder is formed by the splanchnopleuric mesoderm. Urachus are the embryological structure which develops into median umbilical ligament and apex of the urinary bladder, which develop into the allantosis. So these are the development of the urinary bladder.